Your phone camera is active right now, not because you opened it, not because you're taking a photo, because a setting buried deep in your device, one that was enabled by default the moment you set up your phone, gives dozens of applications continuous access to your camera and microphone without ever asking your permission again after the first setup screen you tapped through without reading. That setting is on, right now, on your phone. And the data it's collecting is not staying on your device. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not speculation pulled from a dark corner of the internet. This is documented, verified, confirmed by security researchers, acknowledged in court documents, and buried in terms of service agreements written in language deliberately designed to be unreadable. The architecture that allows your phone camera to function as a surveillance device was built intentionally, operates continuously, and is profitable enough that the companies benefiting from it have spent enormous resources making sure most people never think to turn it off. Here's the mechanism. When you downloaded any application that requested camera access, a social media app, a shopping app, a fitness tracker, a game, a flashlight, a QR code scanner, you were shown a permission prompt. You tapped allow. What you didn't read, because no one reads it, is that in many cases that permission doesn't expire, doesn't require reconfirmation, and doesn't limit the app to only accessing your camera when you're actively using it. Background access, depending on your operating system version and your specific settings, can mean the app has the technical ability to access your camera input while running in the background, while your screen is off, while you're doing something else entirely. The data that flows out of that access is where the story gets worse. Camera access isn't just about images. Modern smartphone cameras combined with their associated software can pull facial geometry data, estimate your age and emotional state from micro-expressions, determine your location from visual landmarks in the background of your environment, identify other people in your physical space, and feed all of that into behavioral profiles that advertising networks use to target you with a precision that should not be possible if your phone were simply a communication device. You've had the conversation. Everyone has had it. You talk about something, dog food, a vacation destination, a medical symptom, a product you've never searched for, and within hours it appears in your social media feed as an advertisement. The standard explanation is that it's a coincidence, or that you must have searched for it without remembering, or that the algorithms are just very good at predicting what you'll want based on your existing behavior. Some of that is true. The algorithms are extraordinarily good at prediction. But security researchers have documented cases where the correlation between spoken conversation and subsequent advertising is too precise, too fast, and too specific to be explained by predictive modeling alone. Researchers at major universities have conducted controlled experiments. Participants used phones near conversations about specific, unusual products that they had never searched for, never purchased, never discussed digitally. The subsequent appearance of those products in targeted advertising was statistically significant, not in every case, not through every app, but enough cases through enough platforms to establish that passive audio and visual data collection through phone sensors is occurring in ways that go beyond what users were told they consented to. The specific setting you need to disable is not hidden in the sense of being technically inaccessible. It is hidden in the sense of being deliberately placed where most people never look, given a name that sounds innocuous, and left enabled by default, in a configuration that serves the data collection interests of the platform rather than the privacy interests of the user. On iPhone, go to Settings. Scroll down to Privacy and Security, tap Camera. Every single application listed there that you did not deliberately need to grant camera access has it. Look at that list. Look at how many apps are on it. Ask yourself, how many of those apps have any legitimate reason to access your camera? The shopping app, the news app, the weather app, the game you downloaded once and forgot about. They all have camera access because you tapped allow on a prompt you didn't read during a setup flow designed to minimize friction and maximize permission grants. The same section has microphone. Open it. Do the same audit. The list will likely be identical or longer. On Android, the path varies slightly by manufacturer, but the process is the same. Settings, Privacy, Permission Manager, Camera. Every app with camera access is listed. Everyone that doesn't have a clear, specific reason to need your camera should have that permission revoked immediately. But revoking individual app permissions is only the first layer, because there are settings above the app level that govern how the operating system itself handles sensor access, and most people have never opened those menus. On iPhone, still in Privacy and Security, scroll to find the setting for location services. This matters because location data and camera data are frequently combined. A photo taken with camera access active doesn't just capture the image, it captures metadata, including GPS coordinates, time, device information, and in some cases, environmental data from other sensors. When an app with camera access takes any kind of image capture, even a frame of video you never see, that metadata package travels with it. The combination of visual data and location data creates a profile of where you are, what your environment looks like, and what you're doing in that environment with a level of detail that goes far beyond anything you consciously shared. There's a second setting most people have never found. On iPhone, it's called Background App Refresh. It's in Settings under General. It controls whether apps can run processes while they're not actively open on your screen. Turn it off entirely, or go through the list and disable it for every app that doesn't have a specific need for it. A social media app with Background App Refresh, enabled and camera permission granted, has the technical pathway to access your camera sensor while the app is not open. That pathway should not exist for any app you haven't explicitly decided to trust with that level of access. On Android, the equivalent is called background data, or in some versions it's managed through battery settings as unrestricted background activity. The label varies, but the function is the same. Apps allowed to run unrestricted in the background have more access to device sensors than apps that are restricted. Go through every app and set background activity to restricted, unless there's a specific reason it needs to run continuously. Now here is the setting that almost nobody knows exists, and that generates the most significant privacy concern of all. Both iOS and Android have introduced privacy indicators. The orange dot on iPhone, the green dot on some Android versions, that are supposed to appear when an app accesses your camera or microphone. These indicators are real, they do appear, but they appear on the screen you're looking at, and research has shown that most users don't notice them, don't know what they mean when they do notice them, and have no way of knowing which specific app triggered them when multiple apps are running. The deeper issue is the permission architecture itself. When you grant an app camera access, you're not granting it access to take photos you can review and delete. You're granting it access to the camera sensor stream. Everything the lens sees can be processed by the application in real time. Frame analysis, facial detection, object recognition, environmental mapping. All of that can happen continuously as long as the app is active and has the permission. The app doesn't have to save anything to your camera roll for the data to be captured and transmitted. It processes on device and sends what it wants to its servers. Your camera roll stays empty. Your data is gone. Facebook, now Meta, has been subject to multiple lawsuits and regulatory investigations related to unauthorized camera and microphone access. In several documented cases, the application was found to be accessing the camera in circumstances where no user-initiated camera function was active. The company attributed documented instances to bugs. The regularity of these bugs across multiple versions and multiple years prompted some researchers to question whether bug was the accurate description. Instagram was caught accessing the iPhone camera while the app was running in the background. Apple's iOS 14 update introduced the orange indicator light specifically in response to this kind of access being detected. When the indicator was implemented, Instagram users immediately reported seeing it activate while they were in the app, but not using any camera function. The company said it was a bug. The bug existed in a version that had already shipped to hundreds of millions of users. These are not obscure applications from unknown developers. These are the most downloaded, most used applications in the world, and they have documented histories of accessing camera and microphone sensors in ways that went beyond what users were shown at the permission prompt. The business model explains why. Advertising technology has reached a level of sophistication where the value of a verified, real-time data point about a user's physical environment is significant. Knowing that a user is in a grocery store right now, not based on GPS location alone, but based on visual confirmation of the environment through the camera, makes an advertising placement worth more. Knowing that a user has recently been in close physical proximity to other specific users, identified through facial recognition on camera frames captured during normal app use, allows social graph mapping that goes beyond what people voluntarily share. The data has value. The mechanism to collect it is already in your pocket with permissions already granted. The only thing standing between the data and the collector is a setting in a menu most people open once in 3 years. There are additional steps beyond the camera and microphone permissions. Go into your settings and find the section governing access to your contacts, your call logs, your clipboard. On iOS 14 and later, apps that access your clipboard generate a notification. When that feature was introduced, users discovered that TikTok was accessing the clipboard every few seconds while the app was in use, reading whatever text was copied there, including passwords copied from password managers, personal messages, account numbers, anything that had been placed on the clipboard for any reason. The clipboard access was not disclosed. The notification system exposed it. The company said it was an anti-spam feature. The feature required reading the clipboard of every user every few seconds, regardless of whether spam was occurring. Turn off clipboard access for every application that doesn't have an explicit reason to need it. Turn off contacts access for applications that have no social function. Turn off photo library access, different from camera access, for applications that have no reason to browse your stored images. The photo library is a separate permission from the camera. An app with photo library access can browse every image you've ever taken. Every photo has metadata, location, time, device, and in many cases, additional data embedded by the camera application. A complete photo library represents a comprehensive map of everywhere you've been, everyone you've been with who appeared in your photos, and a timeline of your life with location stamps. That access should be restricted to specific apps with a clear and understood reason to need it. Go to your settings right now, not after this, not when you remember, now. The audit takes 10 minutes. Open every permission category in the privacy section: camera, microphone, location, contacts, calendar, photos, health, motion, Bluetooth. For each one, open the list of apps with access. For each app on each list, ask one question. Does this app need this access to do the thing I use it for? If the answer is no, revoke it. A flashlight app does not need camera access beyond the basic flash function. A calculator does not need microphone access. A recipe app does not need location access beyond what you explicitly grant when searching for nearby restaurants. A game does not need contacts access. Every permission that exists beyond what the core function requires is a data collection pathway that benefits the developer, not you. The phone in your pocket is the most powerful surveillance device ever created. It knows where you are at all times. It has a camera and a microphone that operate continuously. It has access to your communications, your contacts, your financial activity if you use mobile payments, your health data if you use fitness features, and your daily routine mapped with a precision no previous surveillance technology could match. You carry it voluntarily. You paid for it. You charge it every night so it never runs out of power. The companies whose applications run on it did not build those applications as a service to you. They built them as a mechanism to collect data about you, which they sell to advertisers, share with data brokers, and use to build profiles that follow you across the internet and increasingly into the physical world. The setting that enables this costs them nothing to leave on. It costs you something real every day it stays enabled. Open your privacy settings, go through the list, turn off what doesn't need to be on. Your camera should be a tool you pick up when you choose to use it, not a sensor that runs in the background of your life, collecting data for systems whose interests are not yours, on behalf of companies whose business model depends on you never looking at that list of permissions. Look at the list.